There is not a single time in history that the US has ever intended to or actually prevented genocide or prevented really anything. The founding mythology of that claim, the first one is the Bosnia intervention, in which they did not prevent genocide. Srebrenica actually happened after the intervention began. The Serb Bosniak, whatever you call them, Bosnian Serb troops there, their response to the NATO intervention was to kill everyone who they had in their custody because they realized that they were and they just decided to do something before they were totally by mass murdering like 6,000 people. So they didn't prevent a genocide at all. Like, where does the prevention narrative come from? The genocide was begun and consummated. They didn't prevent it at all. And the second intervention, the later one, they didn't prevent genocide. I don't know, where does that even come from? They crafted a lie about a Kosovo Albanian genocide, which they quietly dialed back. The US claimed 200,000 Kosovo Albanians had been genocided, a claim which they later never elaborated on, and for which no evidence was ever found, in which they quietly dropped. What happened in the war in the Kosovo-Serbia thing, it was not even like remotely genocide on either side. It was ethnic cleansing carried out by both sides, so obviously the Serbs were more powerful. The NATO reaction to this was to bomb the ever-loving fuck out of Serbian civilian infrastructure. They really liked doing that. Bill Clinton and George Bush Sr., rest in hell, they really pioneered that shit. They pretty much intentionally tried to destroy civilian infrastructure with the idea that both Kosovo and Serbia after the war could be coerced into accepting IMF loans for rebuilding, when their countries were both destroyed not only by this war, but also by the NATO intervention, ironically, which was supposedly to stop genocide. By the way, there was not a genocide to stop. There was ethnic cleansing, which means displacements. So there was no stop genocide there. In fact, the US had to literally invent the idea of a genocide. They had to straight up lie. Even if you just look at like Wikipedia, for example, you can see that the total death toll of the conflict was about 14,000, including civilians and combatants. Okay? This is an old-ass article from 1999, but it is a source that quotes U.S. government official making the claim of 100,000 killed. U.S. Secretary of Defense William Cohen reiterated one of the central justifications for the NATO bombing of Yugoslavia. We have now seen about 100,000 military-age men missing. They may have been murdered. That turned out to be a complete lie, because on all sides, the total death toll was about 13,500. The U.S. invented the idea that a genocide was going on in order to justify the intervention. It turned out there wasn't actually a genocide going on. And still to this day, people will somehow claim that the US intervention stopped genocide. Something for which, like the idea of which stems from just straight up the US government making shit up, which still extends this very day, even though it has long since been proven false. The central myth of like the justified intervention, the good intervention, the intervention to stop genocide, neither of them are true. Not Bosnia nor Kosovo. Funnily enough, the people who make these claims as well, they would never acknowledge the actual US genocides. For example, the United States invasion of Iraq, carried out with the full knowledge that obviously invading this country and destroying its infrastructure, etc., was going to kill a ridiculous amount of people from a particular national group, in this case, obviously Iraqis. That's genocide. And it was a genocide that was not just intentional, but consummated, as 2.4 million Iraqis died as a result. That's not called a genocide. What is, however, called a genocide is a genocide that the US government invented in Kosovo that then turned out, once the dust had settled, to not have actually ever happened, which is still to this very day claimed to have been a genocide in order to legitimize that intervention in retrospect. It's like, I hate using this word because Orwell is a dumbass, but like it is really, you know, the purest or meaning of the word Orwellian, that sort of inversion of reality. So to recap, in Bosnia, they claim they stopped genocide. They didn't stop genocide. The genocide was carried out. Every single military-age man in Srebrenica was killed. They didn't prevent that at all. It happened. In Kosovo, they invented the idea of a genocide and then quietly stopped talking about it once it was clear that nothing like that had ever happened. So clearly, this mythology of the good intervention is total bullshit. Not to mention that this idea of a humanitarian intervention is bullshit in the first place, because it just cover for what their real motivation was, which was to destroy both Kosovo and Serbia so that European, Western, American, companies, and governments, banks, etc. could then come in and give loans, and then those loans could be used to pay these foreign companies to rebuild these countries and give them a whole lot of fucking money. That's what it was all about. That's what it's always about. Like, it's this idea of salvation through destruction they have. We're going to save you by fucking destroying your country. No, they always make things worse. And in these cases, they made things worse as well.